What's up YouTube? Jeff back again from dopetechdaily.com. Today I'm bringing you guys my 48-hour impressions with the iPhone 7 and the 7 Plus. I did a video doing a size comparison to the Android flagships, and in this video I'm basically going to tell you how I've made out using the phones for 48 hours since I picked them up on Friday. And I want to do one thing at the end of the video which will help a lot of my Android fan base. Most of the people who watch my videos are here for Android stuff, so all my iPhone videos I'm trying to take sort of an approach of comparing to Android or talk a little bit about what I miss from Android, which is what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to tell you what do I miss when I go from an Android phone to the iPhone. That's not to say the iPhone's a bad phone or it's worse than Android. I'm just trying to make it easier for people who might be considering jumping from an Android phone to one of these guys to see what they might find missing or lacking. Now I'm going to talk about each of these a little bit. They both have very similar specs in a lot of ways, but of course we've got the dual camera on the 7 Plus. I'll talk about that. And then I'll also talk about, of course, the size difference, which I already talked a little bit about in my first video. So let's get into the matte black iPhone 7, which I have here. As I already said, I love the build of this phone. I love the look of it. It does hide the antenna lines very well. I also like the fact that it doesn't get fingerprints as easily or scratches as the jet black. You can see a few smudges, but they wipe off easily. Also, my friend Zach from Jerry Rig Everything, he did a nice video where he had his keys on here and he scratched it, but the scratches wipe right off. So not a problem if you put your keys in here on the back. It's not going to have any issue scratching this. And overall, I just like the size of the 4.7-inch phone so far as well, because I've been using bigger phones. Just going to something different feels kind of novel and always feels kind of nice. Now, around front, you'll notice the new thing, of course, as I mentioned in the last video, is the home button is no longer a mechanical button. You actually have to sort of press on this to get some haptic feedback instead of pressing a mechanical click. Also, you have to press the button to open the home. If you want to change that, though, I'll talk a little bit about this later in a video where I talk about the top things to do to customize your iPhone. You can change that in the accessibility, which is in general settings. You can go to click speed from default, slow or slowest. And also you can change it to rest your finger to open the phone. That's very similar or exactly the same as the previous version of iOS where you just rest it on there and that will open the actual phone. You still got to press down on the haptic feedback in order to go back once you're in an app. So this is going to take some getting used to, obviously. I found that in about 24 hours, I got used to it and I liked it. Just make sure you set up the click that's right for you, which it does in the setup, and you're not going to have any issues. Eventually, this is going to be better in the long run because it's going to let this hold up longer. A lot of mechanical home button failures in not only iPhones but Android phones as well. So I expect a lot of manufacturers, especially Samsung, will eventually go to this method. Now, of course, the next thing is the bottom here. You're missing your headphone jack. You've got the lightning port only in terms of ports, and that is going to be an issue for some people for a little while. You do have a 3.5 millimeter to lightning adapter in the box, but I used the Moto Z earlier this year, which also has no headphone jack, and found myself without an adapter and wanting to plug in some headphones many times. My best advice is to get some Bluetooth headphones if you're going to be using these phones, just until you get used to carrying the adapter around. If you're an audiophile, that makes it difficult on you, I know. I did pick up the Beats Solo 3 Wireless, which has Apple's new wireless headphone technology, just like the AirPods. I'll be doing a review on those. I just don't like the look of the AirPods. I may check them out just to review. Maybe I'll give those away because I just don't like how they look. Anyway, once you get used to it, it's going to push the headphone industry forward in a big way, I think. So even though there was no real reason to get rid of it here because they didn't make the phone any thinner, I understand where people are coming from, but I don't have a huge problem with it, and I expect more manufacturers will do that. Now, the next thing, of course, which is similar for both of these, you've got the new loudspeaker, which is the stereo speakers. And when you have your phone listening to music or you're watching a YouTube video in landscape mode, this makes a huge difference. I compared the iPhone 7, 7 Plus to the HTC 10 in terms of audio when listening to Spotify or watching YouTube. It's clearer and it's louder. I'm very impressed with the stereo speakers that Apple has put on the iPhone. It's one of the bigger improvements, I think, in 2016 for the iPhone line. And I think anybody who picks up the phone who does listen to some audio, watch some media on their phone, they're going to be rightfully impressed with both of these phones in that regard. The next thing I want to talk about is iOS 10. Now, iOS 10 is, of course, an acquired taste. Maybe if you're an Android fan, I'm not knocking the operating system, but if you come from Android to iOS, you're going to miss a few things. You're going to miss your app drawer. You're going to miss the fact that you can organize your home screen however you want by putting icons anywhere. You're going to miss customized icons. You're going to miss all those sort of things, widgets that you can place anywhere. But at the end of the day, iOS 10 is so incredibly smooth that if you're just interested in getting things done on your phone, it somehow makes up for that at the end of the day because of the speed with which you can navigate the UI. There's no lag on either of these phones. I've felt that the iPhone 7 is actually just as fast as the iPhone 7 Plus, even though this one has the 3 gigabytes of RAM. Haven't really noticed much of a difference. As we know, iOS 10 very, very optimized in terms of how it works with Apple's hardware, since they build both hardware and software in-house. I do like the new setup here. You've got, when you swipe to the right of your home screen, you've got all of your information for today. You've got your calendar view, your recently used apps. I've got my up next on my calendar. There's my class I'm teaching tomorrow, my Dropbox, travel times to home and work from Google Maps. I'll talk more about setting this up in my top tips video for the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, my notes, my stocks, etc. Whatever you want to put over here, this is basically where you can add some widgets. It's not quite as customizable as Android, but I do like what they've done there. The notifications have gotten a little bit better. You can force touch on a notification to archive a reply, for instance, in Gmail, or to delete something. You can click down on here and you get more options. That's nice. One thing that I do miss is the ability to swipe my notifications away. I try to do that all the time. You have to swipe here to the left and then you can hit clear, but I don't want to do that for each notification. At the top, you have to hit this X and then hit clear again. So you have to do quite a bit of work to clear your notifications on the iPhone 7, 7 Plus, and iOS 10. It is nice that you can search your notifications there at the top, but I do find the notification clunky a little bit, especially on the lock screen where I can't just swipe away my notifications. And also, if I happen to open my phone and then relock my phone, I don't see any of the notifications that I haven't swiped away, right? On Android, if you don't swipe away your notifications, if you take a look here at my Galaxy S7 Edge, if you don't swipe away your notifications, you'll still see those on the lock screen. So I still have notifications on my iPhone I haven't acted on, but they're not there. So I can open my S7 Edge like that, and then I can go back. My notifications are still there. On the iPhone, that is not the case. All right, so that is one thing that I do miss. But overall, iOS 10 is incredibly smooth, incredibly fast. The hardware on both of these phones is impressive. I really don't have any complaints about the smoothness and performance. A lot of people have been asking if these phones hiss. So there's been some issue where people say if you put the phone under heavy load, it starts to hiss. I haven't seen any problems like that. I've been playing some games, Smash Hit, One More Line, One More Dash. I guess maybe I should try a few racing games, something more intense. But I've been playing some games on here. I haven't noticed any issues on either phone so far. I've been very impressed with the performance. Haven't noticed any issues with it heating up yet at all either. I think iOS 10, aside from those customization issues that I've had overall, those are something that you're going to have to live with if you switch from Android to iPhone. But aside from those issues, there's really been nothing that's upset me with iOS 10. The next thing I want to talk about here is the battery life. The battery life on these two phones hasn't been that great so far, but I've only put a couple of charge cycles on them. If we go in here, the battery life on the 7 Plus hasn't been terrible, but the battery life on the iPhone 7, not that great, which is too bad because I've been enjoying the form factor. Let me see if I can pull up the battery here. I've been using this one quite a bit today. 3 hours and 17 minutes usage, and it says 23 hours, 54 minutes standby, which I guess is pretty good, but I actually charged this phone earlier today, and then I think I didn't charge it all the way up. So 3 hours isn't that bad, but remember, usage for the iPhone 7 can be listening to music. That's not necessarily your screen on time. So it's hard to compare Android to iPhone battery life. You got the screen on time versus the usage and standby on here. Overall, though, the iPhone 7 Plus, not that bad. This phone I just charged back up. I did, on the first cycle, I downloaded a lot of apps, and I got a pretty good amount of usage out of it. I think something like 8 or 9 hours, which isn't that bad at all. I'm pretty impressed with the iPhone 7 Plus. I'd say if you're going to get the smaller one, you may have to get a battery pack. You may have to get a third-party charger to carry that around with you while you're using your phone. The next thing, of course, is the camera on these two phones. I will update the battery life once I use them some more. Don't want to say too much in 48 hours as it's not that reasonable of a comment. And so at the end of the day, let's talk about the camera a little bit now. The camera on the iPhone 7, of course, is improved. You've got good low light shots. I took a few pictures that I posted over to Twitter. They are a little bit not as crisp, I would say, as the Galaxy S7 and the S7 Edge, but I am impressed with the nighttime overall, the low light ability. So you do have some nice shots there. I took a few live photos, but overall the photos appear to be pretty bright, even though they do have a little bit softer edges, or softer especially when you're using the HDR mode. But overall, nice pictures that were captured, especially this one right here I like quite a bit. And then I also took a few pictures in terms of selfies. I took those with the iPhone 7 Plus. The iPhone 7 Plus, I also played around a little bit with the zoom camera, of course, on the back of this lens, so you guys can take a look. I posted some of these on Twitter as well. Couple selfies with HDR. This is HDR on. This is with HDR off. You see you do get nicer detail there. This one with HDR off. That one with HDR on. You've got much nicer detail. The sky is blown out in the first one. And then I took a few other pictures. Sneaker photos, I took these with the zoom. And this is really nice if you want to take sneaker shots and you don't want to actually have to bend over to take a picture of your sneaker. For all my sneakerheads out there, I found it very, very useful for that. Took a few macro shots of some flowers last night, or actually in the evening. Very good. I compared the zoom versus the actual camera. So here's the camera without the zoom. There's the one with the zoom. You do lose a little bit of your overall contrast when you use the zoom lens, but it's not too bad. It's actually pretty impressive. I took a few landscape shots as well. Let's see here what else I got. I took a picture of my biscuits there at Red Lobster last night, and also of this lime here in my drink. Very good detail though overall. I was impressed with the zoom camera here on the iPhone 7 Plus. It's a very, very nice feature. Overall, the interface is very easy to use as well. You hold down here and then you can zoom just sort of on the scale, choose how much you want to zoom in or zoom out. So overall, the cameras are pretty nice. I'll have an in-depth comparison to the S7, S7 Edge. Hopefully my Note 7 as well once I get it. But overall, a pretty impressive job from the iPhone cameras. Just that one issue of having a little bit softer pictures, but I think the low light performance is pretty good. All right, so I think that's about it I have to say in my first 48 hours impressions with the phones. Obviously, as I mentioned, if you're coming to Android, you're going to miss the customizability, especially with the UI. But you are going to get a really smooth experience. I miss not having custom icons. I miss not having backdrops, the wallpaper app. Another thing I really miss is when I go in and I want to share something, like if I'm on Instagram or if I'm on Facebook or if I have a photo and I want to share the photo, there aren't nearly as many options, right? So say I want to share a photo, you can see there aren't nearly as many options as there are on Android. Even if I click more, I have to turn those on separately, whereas on Android, I can copy a link to the photo with my Google Drive, etc., and I don't have any issues sharing it. There's just one extra step you have to do to share it directly to whoever you're interested in. But overall, very impressed with the iPhone 7, 7 Plus. There are those trade-offs if you're switching from Android to iPhone, but I hope you guys enjoy my thoughts. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys think about my thoughts on the iPhone versus the Android customizability. If you guys are interested in switching to the iPhone, have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer those as well. You can find me at dopetechdaily.com, Google+, Instagram, and Twitter. The link's in the description. Please like and subscribe if you guys enjoy my content so I can make future videos like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.